Welcome back to Spit It Out with Meg. I'm your host, Meg. This is another Pillow Talk episode. Today we're going to be talking about people pleasing, where it comes from, and how it can manifest in our careers and our livelihoods. Welcome to the Spit It Out podcast. This is where we ask the hard questions about life, dentistry, and healthcare. I'm Meg, a registered dental hygienist who loves to brush, floss, and spit out the truth. So I have always been a people pleaser, and the reason for that stems way back to when I was a little girl. And like most people, a lot of childhood trauma and fear of rejection, abandonment, etc. can really shape how your brain forms and how you function as an adult, quite literally. From what I looked up, people pleasing is primarily driven by a deep-seated fear of rejection, conflict, or abandonment, often rooted in childhood trauma, conditional love, or insecure attachment. It is a learned coping mechanism where self-worth is tied to approval, leading individuals to sacrifice their own needs to ensure safety and maintain harmony. If any of you resonate with this, I hope you know that you're not alone and I am here for you. And the goal of this episode is to try to maybe encourage ourselves to move past the whole people-pleasing arc of our lives. I know I'm still working on it and I'm a 25-year-old. No, it's going to be something I suffer with the rest of my life. So if you feel the same way, you are not alone and I'm here for you. Okay, so I grew up in a pretty tumultuous household. I definitely had a lot of back and forth with my parents. My parents were divorced and I had step parents and step siblings and half siblings and, different houses. And it was a lot of going back and forth into two households that were raised and run completely different. Every single parent was completely different. And some houses were more strict than others. And so for me, I think it created a real sense of instability. And I wanted to make everyone happy so they weren't mad at me, because every time someone was mad at me, I felt this tremendous sense of guilt and weight on my shoulders. And I really did not like that feeling. Even if whatever happened to me or the punishment I was getting was like crazy or really not fair, I didn't really have anyone to tell me different. So I just kind of felt like, okay, well, I'm a bad kid. I'm constantly doing bad things because that's why I'm getting in trouble. So I need to just make everyone happy so that they're not mad at me and then everything's good. That was kind of how my brain, I think, saw life. And the unfortunate part is where I've talked to my therapist about this a lot. What I was dealing with at home, I also brought to school with my peers, and I had no idea that was not healthy. And what I mean by that is I expected other kids and other adults to act and think the same way as my parents, for example. So if I made someone upset that was a kid or another adult, I kind of expected them to lash out and treat me like how I was being treated at home, basically. And what I didn't know was that is not the case. One of my therapists, my favorite therapist I've ever had, she told me one time, your peers are not your parents. And it sounds simple, but it's just kind of one of those sayings to remind me that the people around me are not my parents. They're not going to act the same. They're not going to think the same. So you can't treat them the same in your mind. You can't expect them to lash out the same way or treat you the same way that your parents do because they're not them. When I was younger, the crazy thing is I was so used to chaos at home. I brought it to school with my peers unknowingly, causing chaos with them too. And I was pretty severely disliked in high school. And we're talking like freshman year, sophomore year by a lot of different students. And we're talking like almost 9 or 10 years ago, right? Some of the conflicts that I had with my peers, I think were definitely my doing, definitely some stupid things that I would do with kids to piss them off, right? And some things I don't think were my fault at all, but it turned into everything was my fault, right? So I had all this guilt on me for things that some of them I didn't even do. Some of them I did do, but I apologize for. So it was just really tough. And pretty much everyone that I knew, except maybe one or two people, hated me and didn't want to be friends with me. And at home, when I came home to a crazy environment too. So I brought my chaos from home to school. And it just kind of fell upon me because I didn't know how to process what I was going through. I mean, I was 14, 15 years old. How was I supposed to know that what was going on at home was chaotic and not normal. So I think a lot of my people pleasing habits formed very young. And I realized as I got into college after high school, that's not really normal. Like, that's not a good thing to people please and constantly try to make people happy. So, the one person that I need to make happy is myself. And that is the one thing that I still carry to this day. And I'm really one to advocate for, like, as much as possible. So, the one thing I wanted to bring up today was the question, how does people pleasing show up in our lives? And as women, there's just one thing I noticed all the time. When I'm in public and there's a woman that's in my way, or like, I don't know, I accidentally bump into her, she bumps into me, or just something silly happens where like maybe they didn't mean to do something that inconvenienced me, but they did it anyway. I always hear the word sorry. I always hear the word sorry. And this is just one example, but you can think of a million different reasons why someone would say sorry when they don't need to, right? I used to be one of these people. I used to say sorry for literally everything. And I guess I didn't realize that I was doing it until hygiene school when my professors would tell us in clinic, you don't need to say sorry for like making someone bleed when they have gingivitis because that's not like your fault. Like you're not trying to hurt them. Just let them know that. And something clicked in my brain to be like, I guess I'm not hurting them like intentionally. I don't need to say sorry for every single time something inconvenient happens. Does that make sense? When something minorly inconvenient happens, you don't always need to say sorry. Instead, there's a couple things that I learned that changed my vocabulary and changed the way that I approach people in public now. Let's say I bump into someone or make someone late accidentally, just something minor. Instead of saying, oh, sorry, I either say, oh, excuse me, I'm in the way or I'm in your way. Or if I bring a patient late, like back, I will say, hey, thanks for waiting. Or let's say it's my friend and I'm like, hey, I'm going to be like 5 minutes late. I show up, hey, thanks for being patient with me. Or hey, thanks for waiting. I don't always go, sorry, I'm late. Or sorry this, sorry that. And if you look at life and you constantly apologize for things, people will take that as you're doing something wrong. When in reality, you're probably not doing anything wrong. You probably never did anything wrong in this situation. So if you frame the statement more positively as thank you, it's uplifting and you're not people pleasing and apologizing to someone constantly for little tiny things throughout the day. Because over time, I really do think it builds up on you with apologizing and constantly thinking you're a failure and you're messing things up. If you know in your head, I'm not actually messing anything up, I'm just being a little inconvenient, you don't have to say sorry. You can say thank you, or you can say excuse me, or different language, different words, so you're not putting blame on yourself all the time. This is just one example that I'm really passionate about. I find that mostly women constantly say sorry when like they're in the way for the hand dryer in the bathroom, or they're in front of me and I'm just going around them in a line or something. People will go, oh, sorry. And I've actually picked up on it so much now that I stopped saying sorry for everything that I will actually tell people, hey, you don't have to be sorry, like you're good. Just to hopefully reaffirm them, like they do not need to be sorry for every single thing that happens that is inconvenient, because that's not how life works. And in the office, in the operatory, I do think it's the same thing. Like I said, if you take a patient back a little late or you slip up on your words, just say, excuse me, or thanks for waiting, or hey, thanks for being patient, give me a second. There's so many ways that we can get away from that people-pleasing language. And I think at the end of the day, saying thank you instead of saying sorry has really positively changed my life. And you won't really know that it's changing your life until you try it for yourself. I think it just makes such a huge difference when you recognize your own, take this with a grain of salt, but failure within your own language, like you're apologizing for things instead of thanking people for things. Changing your language is just great. Highly recommend it. Being a people pleaser and being a dental hygienist sometimes are very cohesive. I don't know if it's because most of us are females or a lot of us struggle with the same things that I mentioned earlier in this episode, but I noticed that if you are not standing your ground and providing your office with your boundaries and the expectations you have for everyone, including the doctor, the front desk, the assistants, everybody, and yourself, you may be walked all over because people don't take you seriously. And if you're constantly trying to make patients happy, your doctor happy, the front desk happy, who's making you happy? These are some things that I've been thinking about this week, to where Let's say the doctor wants you to do something that you're not comfortable with, but you say yes because you don't want to make them upset. That's disrespecting yourself. Same thing with the front desk, for example. Let's say they overcrowd your schedule and you are super overwhelmed and overworked and miserable, but you just said yes because you wanted to make them happy. Like I said before, who is making you happy? And if it's not yourself, the answer is probably nobody. Learning to have boundaries in these situations really sets you up for success and also helps people understand how to respect you as a hygienist and just as a human being. There's been a couple times where I've probably said yes to things that I wasn't comfortable with in the office, and I always regret it after. There's probably very few times that I have been a people pleaser and said, yeah, that was a great idea. But especially while working with dentists, it's really important for you guys to respect each other at the end of the day and make sure that you guys are on the same page. Because if one person is walking all over the other person or just people pleasing each other constantly, no one is really getting treated the way they should, and patients are definitely not being taken care of as priority. When you first get out into the field, it's really easy to just be a pushover and accept the little scrappings that people give you, especially if it's good treatment or you don't want to fight for a better wage because you just want to be compliant and complicit and just say yes. I just want you to know that if you're listening to this, it's super important to stand up for yourself because at the end of the day, you are your best advocate. There's no one out there that's going to advocate better for you. Never settle. I don't think there's any dental office or any practice that's worth settling for. There's always something better out there as long as you put your mind to it. I'm not saying to quit your job and look for something else. I'm saying to always keep your mind open and your eyes open out there because you'd be surprised, if you settle for something that you just think, oh, this is the best I'm ever going to get. You might think that way, but you look at your friend who's jumped different offices, in different opportunities, and you go, why can't that be me? Why are they getting paid more? Why are they getting treated like this? It's because sometimes you have to take the risk in order to get the big reward. But being a people pleaser can really limit you from taking opportunities like that. I've been there. I get it. And it's really important to consult with a therapist, your family, your friends, and have people in your life that challenge you. I think if everyone just has an echo chamber around them in your life and no one's pushing you to be greater, sometimes you can feel stuck. And sometimes if everyone's people pleasing each other all the time, no one is going to get to where they want and everyone is going to suffer at the end of the day. To wrap it up, when it comes to work, don't let people walk all over you. Don't always be the yes man. It's okay to say no. It's actually healthy to say no. It's very healthy to assert yourself positively, of course, but also confidently. That's what matters. Another thing that I still struggle with is thinking that people dislike me to this day. And I know I kind of mentioned that I had a bunch of people dislike me in high school and it really impacted me. I still have that fear to this day, like that my friends online hate me or my friends in person hate me. And when I say online, I think of just everybody, of just like the entirety of people like dislike me. And it's frustrating because I know that's not true, but my brain has a hard time like comprehending that, if that makes sense. And so I really struggle with it. And it's almost like I get into my own head with kind of like an OCD sense, not the CD part, but the obsessive part. And I like overthink something over and over and over again. And sometimes I just need like a validation that someone isn't mad at me or something, which I know is a little extra. And I've told people in my life like, hey, sometimes I just need that like affirmation. It's just so crazy because after I get that affirmation, it's like it completely clears from my head. I don't have that raging anxiety anymore. And I'm trying so hard to get better at that. But man, it is so hard. It is so freaking hard. And I don't know if anyone else feels like this, but just know that, you don't always need that validation from people. You don't need someone to tell you that they're not mad at you. If they haven't given you any signs that they're mad at you, they're probably not mad at you. If I was really mad at my friend, I would probably tell them. Or I'm not a good friend. You know what I'm saying? Like real friends do not hold back their feelings about you, and they should tell you exactly how they feel about you. And if they're mad, and if you don't tell your friend and you're just using it against them, that's not very nice. I wouldn't recommend doing that. When it comes to social media and being an influencer, I used to look up to bigger creators a lot, and there are still a couple bigger creators I really, really love. Like, honestly, the Latina RDH, Amber Lovatos, and Tooth Life Irene. Oh my gosh. Those ladies, you guys are the best. Seriously. Shout out to you guys. I don't even know if you're listening to this, but just know, wow. They're like, those are the two people that I really, really look up to. And it's so crazy because I used to follow and like really look up to a bunch of bigger creators online. But then I realized like the reason why I was following and trying to be active on these people's profiles was just because I was looking for that validation for myself. I noticed that sometimes I was interacting with their posts and following these like a bunch of big creators just because I wanted validation that I was doing good with my platform. And I just like don't want to be like that anymore. I've stopped people pleasing online as well because I noticed every time I would comment on someone's page because I wanted validation or a reaction back, that's not healthy. That's not healthy at all. I want to be the type of confident individual and secure individual to where if I'm commenting or liking someone's post or DMing them, I'm not looking for them to reply back. Like I don't need that, right? I've come into situations online where maybe someone was disagreeing with something I did or something I said, right? And I can tell because they let me know. Either they sent me a nasty comment, nasty DM, something like that, right? And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is crazy." And I've replied to them being like, "Just so you know, like that was not what was going on. Have a good day," right? I'm the type of person now to be like, even if I don't get a response, that's okay. I want to always leave the room being the bigger person and trying to take accountability for if someone heard something, someone thought I said something I didn't say. You know I can't do that for every single situation online because the online world is a huge world. But if I can, like, if I have something in my control with another person that maybe misunderstood something, I'm always going to try to be like, hey, like, just so you know, full respect, like, that's not what's going on. I want to be cool with everybody. I never want to make anyone upset. Obviously, I'm a people pleaser, but like, if I make someone upset, obviously I want to fix it. It's never my intention. And at the end of the day, the best part is about life is like, you can always be the nice person and like reach out to someone and they don't have to reply to you. That's okay. That's their choice. I try to nowadays separate the whole world from myself. I don't think that anyone is really after me out there. I think part of being an adult nowadays is realizing that like not everyone's out to get me. Not everyone's out to like make me upset. So I always try to think of the positive with people nowadays. I've had some like friendships fall out in the past that when I was younger, I used to always think like, oh my gosh, they did this to me. They did this to me. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. But nowadays that I'm older and wiser, I realized that every story almost has two sides. And I don't even really like saying that because I feel like there's only one story, but it's just different perspectives, right? There's only one thing that happened and anyone can look at it differently. But at the end of the day, as long as you can take a responsibility for maybe what you did to possibly upset someone and the other person can do that too, I think the whole world would just honestly be a better place. I really do think so. In my past, I've gone to a lot of therapy to kind of unpack all of the things that I'm talking about today. I'm so much better at processing things and getting to the source of problems with people now, but I still struggle. And that's kind of where all of this is wrapping up is where, you can go to as much therapy, you can do anything out there, you can talk to people, but sometimes things just still bother you. Something that I struggle with sometimes, and I've always struggled with, is closure. Does that ever drive you crazy too? Like not getting closure on something? Because man, like, holy crap. Do you guys ever have like a relationship end? It could be a friend, colleague, patient, anybody, right? Have you ever had something happen to where like the relationship ends and then you just don't really know why someone did what they did? Like you just never get that validation. Oh my gosh, it drives me nuts. Holy crap. Like, I don't know if it's because I'm type A or it's probably because I people please and like I'm still working on all that. Maybe we could just sit down and have a conversation, right? We don't have to be friends at the end of it. That's fine. But if we can at least like talk about like the conflict and like maybe figure it out first, that's just me. But some people, I think, honestly, I respect, like, they just want to, like, cut it out of their lives and, like, they don't care. I think those people are more avoidant than I am. And I think that's, like, honestly, a strong trait because I'm more of an anxious attachment person. To wrap up this mini Pillow Talk episode, I know I rambled a lot and I hope some of that made sense, but I just wanted to do kind of like a really raw and real episode of like my thought process when it comes to people pleasing because it is pretty complex and it is a lot to think about. And I just want to let you know that you are loved. You don't need to be put down by people and say sorry for everything. Remember that you can change your language and say thank you. That is always helpful. And your worth, your value is not dependent on someone else's opinion on you. Just know that you determine your own value. You do not need to kiss ass and ask people for attention just to make yourself feel better. You do not need to do that. Other than that, I just want to say thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.